see if there's anybody in already. Check the status of the stream. Let's also pop open my notes. Come on and make it happen. All right. How is... Oh, that's not the stream. How are we doing on the stream? We got people in yet? Looks like we got people in. Yeah, you guys just ask questions. I'm still getting a little bit set up here, so let me just get things moving. But in the meantime, please ask questions. Yes. Hey, I'm doing great, Alex Smiljanic. How are you, my friend? How are you? That's the real question. Let me get some music going too. Yeah. I don't quite need to be that loud, I don't think. Let me know if music's too loud or distracting or anything like that, guys. I just like to have it playing in the background because it feels weird to stream without it. And yeah, feel free to start asking questions whenever. I've got a couple different, I've got Claude Code working on a display for me for the stream. I'm experimenting with a few different formats for this. I'm also going to do another one, because why the fuck not? There's a couple kind of just like general business concepts that I wanted to talk about today, but I didn't have enough written to like, there's just ideas that I kind of want to workshop a little bit and develop a little bit more before I make a full video about them. So I'll probably talk about some of those today, probably just be answering some questions and seeing what happens. I've got a bunch of cool stuff going on in my life right now, so it's rare that I have the opportunity to actually like sit down and stream for an hour or so. So taking advantage of it while I still can, because there's probably not going to be too many of these in the next couple of months. So, let's see. Create and locally deploy a live stream overlay screen for my QSA that has dynamically adjusting text box in the center for me to copy and paste questions. All right. Got my agents working on a better screen than this because this is pretty generic. Do we have questions yet? Here we go. Static Dreams enter. Do I take my mask off for consults? I do not. The only people in this industry who have ever seen my face are people that I have actually worked with in person. And that's mostly because I don't like wearing, I mean, it'd be a little weird if I was wearing a mask through like airports and shit. So. Hold on, let's see. That did not work. All right, so question from Kai. Were you using your Claude, I'm assuming he means Claude subscription here. Were you using your Claude subscription to connect it to your OpenClaw when building the course, or fully just paying for API usage? That's a good question, and the answer is multiple different things, because I actually started building the course when you could connect OpenClaw directly to Claude. when the OAuth path was still working and viable. And then they changed that about a month after I started using OpenClaw. And then I switched to Hermes Agent, and I built an ACP server that allowed you to bypass that block. And so I would say a combination of Claude Max OAuth path and the API was used to build the course. And then these days, because Claude is so cringe, I still have an active Claude subscription because I like to see what all of the models, like I like to be able to compare all of the active AI models in real time, especially when it comes to agentic use, which is my primary AI use case these days. But these days I mostly use OpenAI's GPT 5.5, and I've been really happy with that as far as quality of code and business ops stuff. Sorry, I'm putting a cough drop in. I've had a nasty sinus infection for the last few weeks. Okay, there we go. We've got something here. So we've got a few different formats. This is Claude Design, if anybody has used Claude Design before. How do I transition between these things? Hello? There we go, okay. So we've got this one that's center aligned, we've got this one that's left aligned, and we've got this one that is... Oh, I don't like this at all. I think I'm just going to go with the center align one. This seems really simple. So let's go with option A. Go ahead and deploy so I can begin using it immediately. So who in the chat right now is currently using Keep Your Claude on 4.6 and it's still basically uncensored? What do you mean by uncensored, Dr. Sergeant Nash? Obviously for like my use case, censorship isn't really a big issue. I'm not using AI for any NSFW stuff. Are you talking about like NSFW script writing, or what do you mean by uncensored in this case? I'm gonna wait until we've got a few more people in here. This is just like kind of a chill impromptu live stream. I don't expect there to be a bunch of people in the chat. Okay, so let's see what our agent came up with. Oh, this is cute. I like this even better. And this was fast. So I just wanted to do this to kind of give you guys a real-time comparison of... it's actually funny that you asked that question, Kai, because this is a real-time comparison of what these different platforms look like. So this is Figma's output. I gave all of these the exact same prompt, by the way. So this is Figma's output. If you're not familiar with Figma, it is a front-end design tool that's mostly used by web developers and digital designers. It's kind of like a browser-based Photoshop or Illustrator. Really cool tool, really great software. Unfortunately, their internal AI is not very robust, so I think this is easily the worst out of the ones that I've generated. So this is the Figma output. This is the Claude code output. It's still working on it. This is Claude Design specifically, not just like raw Claude code. So we'll wait and pass judgment on this. But the prompt that I gave it was basically to create a live stream Q&A page for me to use on this live stream that allows me to type in questions in the style of like the classic Apple Shy It Day 1984 era advertisements. So let's do present in this tab. Okay, so this isn't too bad. It's a little bit, hold on, let me shrink the screen. This is pretty classy. I don't mind this at all. Let's try, what model was used to produce this page? Okay, and then I hit enter and it automatically saves the question. Post and then shift return for a new line. What happens? Okay, so it just, when I hit enter, it automatically... I also didn't specify any behavior. Something that I think is really interesting about working with these AI models is you don't really know what you're going to get. Like, a lot of this stuff is really spontaneous, and so these are like really legitimately, in a very real sense, thinking machines. And so I didn't ask for this functionality of like hit enter to save a past question. It just automatically decided to include it. So that's kind of cool. And then this one is the one that was produced by my Design agent. I use Hermes agent plus GPT 5.5. So this is Hermes agent plus GPT 5.5. Again, same prompt. This is definitely the closest to the actual what I had in mind for the prompt. For those of you that are, for you young whippersnappers that are not familiar with the old Shy at Day Mac advertisements, let me pull them up really quick. It's this era of advertising. So like print ads, this type of thing. It's got like the rainbow, the old Mac rainbow thing. Most of you who are watching this probably don't even fucking remember this logo, which is kind of insane to think about. But I would say that my onboard agent definitely handled this the best. So which agent was used to produce this screen? And it looks like, let's see, does this change sizes dynamically? It does. Very cool. Uh-oh, we lost the chat. Hold on. There we go. Chat window. Yeah, Pride Month themed. Not exactly. Rainbows used to not mean that. I know it's difficult to imagine a world. Technically, it's not a rainbow, right? Because it starts with green. So there you go. And then I've got one more cooking that is not in the Shy at Day style from my... So I have a design agent that is specifically for work that is related to Faceless Francis. And then I have a design agent for personal projects. This is my personal project design agent. Right now I'm working on a website that's like a kind of like a questionnaire thing called Symbiotic. And that's totally unrelated to OFM, so I'm not going to get into it too deep, but this is kind of the visual style for that. So let's see, question time, PP, poo-poo. There's a little bit of something that I noticed with GPT-5 is that if you don't give super explicit instructions, there will be some design flaws, like the fact that the text overlaps this image is a little bit annoying, and there's like just some random off-center stuff. Obviously, normally, if I'm doing anything public facing, I am going to be shopping this stuff around a lot more, but yeah. So I still like this one the best, so we're going to go with this one. And let's just say that the question right now is, boom. I got to keep a bunch of screens open, so let me just shrink this a little bit. There we go. And yeah, we've got people in the chat now, so guys, if you want to ask questions, just ask them in the chat, and I will copy and paste them into here, just like it says. But for now, I will start talking about some random stuff that I've kind of been thinking about that I wanted to shop around a little bit more. Eventually, I want to turn this into a script for like a real video. But for now, I just want to kind of go over it. And that thing is like kind of just general business principles. I think that a lot of people that get into OFM are young entrepreneurs, which is awesome. I love that. It's one of my favorite things about this business is that, like, yeah, you'll have some shitheads who are like, you know, they're really young and dumb and just looking for a quick buck. But you have guys, I talk to guys all the time that are like really legitimately looking to start their entrepreneurial journey. And this happens to be the first thing that they do. Is the stream going to be recorded? Yeah, Kai. It'll be available if you go to, after the stream ends, if you go to the live tab on my page, you will be able to rewatch it. Because, yeah, it's late as fuck. You're in South Africa, so it's probably... Bro, you got to get some sleep. Do you sleep? Do you be sleeping, dog? What time is it in Cape Town right now? Cape Town time. Oh, I guess it's only 11. Okay, that's not bad. You're fine. So yeah, the first thing that I want to kind of talk about, very counterintuitive idea, because most people go into business to make money, right? The most successful businesses in the world, outside of obviously like finance, which is kind of a unique demon in and of itself, the point of a business, trying to think of like, again, this is just kind of me working through some ideas and like figuring out how to phrase them correctly. Business is a creative function. The most successful businesses in the world have one thing in common, And that is that they did something that nobody has ever done before. And basically all of the real money, like big money in business, the people that are making billions of dollars, I'm not saying that that's everybody's goal, but if you look at the Elon Musks and the Jeff Bezoses of the world, and if you look at the Andrew Carnegies, and the, you know, any other like gigantic like magnate type business person that you can think of, they created something from nothing. And then what follows after invention is usually like a race towards optimization, but that initial breakthrough is almost always an original thing. And so the way that I think about business is, when you start a business, you are basically saying, I have a belief about the world. I have a problem that I want to solve, and I want to test that belief. And if you're right, and that idea is novel, and you execute it well, the upside is infinite, right? It's potentially, you know, again, looking at Elon Musk, this is a guy that's worth $500 billion. But ultimately, in business, making money is the consequence of creating value, not the objective of the business. So, okay, we've got questions now, so I'm going to stop my spiel here. How do you choose the content that will convert? Let's see, hold on. Just having big views. Okay. Wait, Alex, you're not the guy that I was just on the phone with an hour ago, right? Maybe you are, I'm not sure. But either way, how do you choose the content that will convert to OF instead of just getting views? The answer to that question is, trying to think of the easiest way to describe it. I'm trying to, sometimes I want to say things in a different way so I don't sound like a fucking broken record and people don't just accuse me of like only repeating the same 5 things. But unfortunately, the 5 things that I say are generally really true, and people tend to not really want to hear them. The way to convert is to understand your audience. That's kind of the most basic way to understand it, right? Because conversion is a function of understanding the need that you are fulfilling in your audience's mind. So in the case of you're doing comedy sketches or just sketches of some kind, right? And you're getting views and you're having some success there and it's not converting. The reason for that is that like you're fulfilling the same need as a stand-up comedian or something like that, right? The idea, getting a laugh out of somebody in a vacuum, is a good way to create positive associations, but it's not necessarily like a point of really deep connection when you're doing it on social media. There are so many people that are doing funny skits. There are so many people that are like trying to make it in sketch comedy or in, you know, improv comedy or whatever the case might be. Like, it's a really big field. And so it's good that you're getting views, because that means that you're probably pretty good at writing comedy, depending on, I don't know what you mean by big views. So maybe that's not true. I'm not 100% sure. But the fundamental problem is that you lack a theory of mind for your customer, and that's incredibly important. And so what I would think about, and the reason I ask if you're the person, I don't think you're the person that I just talked to on the phone, but he had a really similar question, and he's also doing sketch comedy or skits. You need to, if you're going to do skits, do them in a specific domain. So if your creator is an auto mechanic, do comedy sketches that are for auto mechanics, that an auto mechanic would understand, right? If she's a nurse, do comedy sketches that are for nurses. Because then it's not just, I'm trying to get a laugh out of you, like that has no real intrinsic value. Then it becomes, I'm getting a laugh out of you because I understand this unique experience that you're going through and the sort of way that you have internalized that. I'm taking an experience that's very specific and I'm making you feel seen. I'm making you feel understood as a consequence of the way that I'm presenting that material. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I did not sleep very well last night, and I've been on the phone for a majority of today, so I'm probably not at my best in terms of cognitive capacity. Let me also find different music. Yeah, let's get some fucking... Yeah. Boom. Okay. So yeah, that's what I would say to that. Give me some more questions, guys. I'll be on here for the next half hour or so, and then I got to prep for another call. Oh, something that I forgot to mention. For anybody that's watching that's interested in the course, don't worry, I'm not going to shill. I just wanted to say that if you're interested in the course and you have questions about it, if you go to my website, facelessfrancis.com, and apply for the course now, you can actually book a discovery call with me, and I will be able to answer questions that you have about the course. I hired a sales team. Let me just put this in the question bar, actually. Let's just call this mistakes I've made in business. So a recent mistake that I made is I hired a sales team to take over the course for me because I was getting a ton of interest, and I didn't personally want to take on all those calls. I had a lot of stuff going on in my personal life, and it's one of those things where it's like, if I open the door to that, then I'm just going to be on phone calls all day, and people will probably try to waste my time or whatever. The problem is I hired a sales team that was not OnlyFans native. They had experience selling info products, but they were not OFM native. And so the issue was I think they were really pushy. I think a couple people had some bad experiences. They were a little bit unprofessional insofar as they were like sending people marketing emails from personal email addresses, and it looked really scammy. And so that put people off. And my entire business, this is just a lesson for maybe anybody that like is interested in going into any type of sales or wants to build a business of their own. I'm a solopreneur. I don't have any employees. I only have contractors right now. And so I do everything myself. Now, that's not necessarily a good thing. But my entire business right now is built off the back of my reputation, and my YouTube channel, right? And so as a consequence of delivering a lot of free value via YouTube and just generally knowing what I'm talking about, which I guess is somewhat of a rarity in this industry, people tend to trust me. But trust is really, really precious. And so I had a couple people email me and they were like, yeah, your sales team kind of sucks. They're really pushy. Like, I don't like the experience that I had there. And, I felt that I was like, I don't want that to be reflective of my brand. Like, that's a really delicate thing that I want to protect. And so again, if you have any questions about the course, you can now book a discovery call with me. What I will say is please don't book a call and like try to get a 30-minute consulting session out of me, because I will not like that. I'll be very unhappy with you if you do that. But if you're legitimately interested in the course, you have questions and you want a little bit of help, or you want to talk shop, you can now book a discovery call with me through facelessfrancis.com after applying for the course. So just wanted to put that out there. This is a good question. What does my day-to-day operations look like from waking up to going to bed? So it'd probably be easier to like draw it out. So let me open an Excalibur tab really quick. Hiya. Oh, no, I can't do that, really? That's really annoying. So let me do this. All right, so at like, let's just do this with a pen. I wake up at, hello? Why is this so fucking hard? Aren't you supposed to be easy? There we go, okay. So 6 a.m., I wake up, I walk my dog. All right, fine, I'll do text. 6 a.m., wake up, walk my dog. I always go for a walk in the morning. This is just like one of those things that I don't know if it's like you realize as you get older or what it is, but the human body is designed for like walking very long distances kind of all the time. And so if you're ever like just kind of in a place where you're feeling shitty, you're not really sure what to do, you're like kind of feeling unproductive, go for a walk. This is like it's a weird small thing, but it's been kind of a game changer for me. I have a lot of my best ideas like creatively and business wise while I'm walking. I usually it's time that you can like call a friend or a family member, maybe spend some time connecting with people that you care about while you're on a walk. You want to listen to a podcast, like whatever the thing is. go for a walk every day, and I promise you that your quality of life will improve. That's not just like a weird old man thing. It's not like some boomer thing of like, go for a walk and you'll everything will be better. But yeah, I always start my day with a walk. I like to watch the sunrise, and then usually I'll walk for about an hour. At 7 a.m. I'll get back. I will eat small meal. At 7:15 I will go to the gym. Let's call it, I'll be back home usually by 8:45. Eat another small meal, and then at 9 o'clock, I'll shower after I eat that meal, and then I'll start my workday. So workdays look a little bit different for me than they probably do for most people, because I have multiple businesses and I need to understand how best to divide my focus. So I don't have a webcam right now, but I keep 5 colored legal pads on my desk next to me at all times. Pink, blue, green, yellow, and purple. And I basically write down on those legal pads whatever I need to get done that week. And every single legal pad corresponds to either a different business or a different category. So blue is like general. This is like the task list, big broad strokes task list for the week. So let's just call this review task list. The blue legal pad is task list for the whole week, just like general. So that can include anything from like, I need to get oil in my car to I need to launch, like prepare for a product launch or whatever. Green is for a project that I'm working on called Colony Labs. I'm collaborating with Hive Media. We're going to do a big paid community thing for whatchamacallit, for agentic AI. We're basically going to be building like a small like community incubator type thing for agentic AI entrepreneurship. That's really cool. I'm really excited about that. I'm going to be talking a lot more about that in the near future. So that's where a lot of my time is spent right now. And then the other notebooks are just for other businesses. The red notebook or the pink notebook is for my YouTube channel. So that's how I kind of keep track of everything that's going on. I would very strongly recommend, a notebook might not be the thing for you, but I would generally recommend keep everything that you need to do in a given week. I like to use week as my like kind of chosen unit of time. Write it down. Make sure you write it down. This is like another one of those things. This is as a general useful like business principle. Oops, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make a new text box. Right? Or document everything. Especially if you're like relatively new to business, you're going to be learning so much in a short period of time. And it's really easy to lose track of what matters, what needs to be done, where your priorities are, and what you've learned in a given day. Try to document as much as you can. I always have something to write with or to talk into. I use an app called Monologue for like voice notes. And often on that morning walk, like sometimes I'll just spend half an hour just fucking like spewing thoughts out of my head. And then when I get home, I'll summarize those thoughts, and a lot of the times that'll be like what I need to do for the week or ideas that I want to pursue or whatever the case might be. So the walk is awesome, and you're going to have great ideas on your daily walk if you go on a daily walk, but the ideas are of no value if you get home and forget all of them, right? So documentation is really important. So yeah, back to the actual scheduling thing. So yeah, at 9 o'clock, I'll review my task list. And then generally speaking, I like to block off my mornings. I don't like to take calls until the afternoon. So between 9 and 12, let's just call it 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. I call this just like deep work. This could be anything from script writing, coding. Let's call it vibe coding because I'm not actually writing lines of code. Vibe coding. This could be like... It's generally those two things. I'm either like, let's just actually just call this agent communications building with AI. So this is like a majority of most of my work days, unless I have something specific scheduled. So sometimes this will be, depending on the week, it'll be 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Like for instance, on Monday, I'm doing an interview with Jimmy DeNiro, who is an AI OFM guy. So like this could be interviews, content filming. Like, this could really be anything, but it's basically, I tend to just be the most productive in the mornings. And so I like to really set aside time in the mornings where my phone is off. I don't talk to anybody. This is just when I focus on stuff that requires like focus, basically. 12 o'clock, I eat lunch. And then I try to get back to work pretty much right after that. I usually hit like a midday lull. So like sometimes I will take like a 30-minute nap in the middle of the day if I'm really sleepy after lunch. Most of the time though, I just go right back to work. This is when I usually, so it'll be like, let's say 12:15 to 4 p.m. will either be shooting content or taking sales consulting calls, something like that. I like to schedule my calls later in the afternoon. I don't like to talk to people in the morning just because that's generally when I have the most creative focus. And then at 4 p.m., we'll just call this meal 3. At 4:15 p.m., I'll get back to work, and I'll usually work until about 8 p.m. This segment will also, I like to talk to people during these hours because like I don't have to think super hard when I'm talking to people. Versus like when I'm doing deep creative work, it's a lot of really deep thinking. It can be a little bit exhausting, but then I tend to get like a second wind after this third meal. So I'll go back to deep work. And then around 8 p.m., I'm not really very good about this. Sometimes I will just work until 10 p.m. But ideally, if we're talking about like my ideal schedule, at 8 p.m. I will stop working, not look at screens, read a book. Well, usually I'll actually like deep stretching or yoga, read a book. Right now I am reading the Adweek Copywriting Handbook by Joseph Sugarman, which is like the ultimate, this is like the god of copywriting, of modern copywriting by most people's account. It's pretty good so far, but usually I'll read either something that I find creatively inspiring or something that makes me better at marketing. And I'll do that until 10 p.m., which is when I'm usually trying to go to sleep. And then I start it all over the next day. So this is obviously subject to change, especially if like I'm traveling. If I'm traveling, all this shit goes out the window and the entire work block is going to be related to obviously like whatever work I am traveling for. So if it's like a big production company gig, this will be all, shooting content, planning shoots, like, booking stuff, whatever. But that's just a general broad strokes overview of my, like an average day for me. Here we go. Dr. Sergeant Nash, I really like your question, but I don't want to skip Akira Suzume's. So how do you manage to create a brand with a general persona that's not unique? Just living their life, no hobbies or brand material? I'm not quite sure what you mean by this. With general persona, generalism is the opposite of brand. Being generic is the opposite of a brand, right? Like that's just those two things are antithetical to each other. So you can't create a brand with a general persona. I think what you're asking is like, actually, you know what? I think what you're asking is actually the same thing as what Dr. Sergeant Nash is asking, which is he asked it just a little bit more, I articulated the question, the heart of the question a little bit better. How do you handle remediation for pleasant creators who have some kind of deficit, like intelligence or zero hobbies? Like they have the hard part, which is motivation, but they lack other substance. The answer to this question, Dr. Sergeant Nash, is the answer to why like Hollywood exists, basically. You invent a personality for them. You invent hobbies for them. You have to basically like, you treat them as a blank canvas and you write their lives for them. You write them a backstory, you write them hobbies. And sometimes, there's some people for whom this is easier than others, right? So like the way that I would approach this for talent, these days, I wouldn't even take on a creator like that just because I just think it's too much of a hassle, but not everybody has that luxury, right? So if you've got like a hard worker that's really generic, I'm going to assume that they speak English and that they are capable of like having you said intelligence, so I'm going to assume they're not really great critical thinkers either. It's really hard. But you just have to write an entire identity for them, and then you have to train them to assume that identity when they are on camera. And so sometimes that will just mean like you probably want to start simple, but I would write things that are like, I would write her a character that is based on something that you know and that you understand really well, and basically use her as a proxy for yourself to communicate, right? So like, let's say for me that I wanted to make a girl Faceless Francis, I would basically just give her my entire identity. So like, let's say that I wanted to start recruiting, and in order to recruit, I wanted to create a female version of me as a content creator, so that like female models would maybe find her more approachable, or, you know, something like, I'm just inventing a reason why I would possibly want to do that. And what I would do is basically just write all of the content the exact same way that I write it for myself. I would give her a teleprompter. I would say, read these exact words in this exact intonation off of this screen, do this exact thing. You just have to give them really precise instructions and hope that they, you know, I hope she's at least literate. But that's really the only solution, is that you just have to entirely supplant their personality or lack thereof with your own. That's kind of the only way that I've figured out how to solve this. But like, again, going back to the example of Hollywood, I think I've used this example in videos before, but like, I've talked to Hollywood actresses, actors and actresses, like very, very talented, skilled people, are just like kind of naturally interesting. But a lot of, especially historically, like a lot of the great, like old school actresses were absolutely fucking retarded. Like, a lot of people in Hollywood are just straight up brain dead. And they are just able to adopt a character, and they're able to function as so long as they are told exactly what to do. And so that's your job, right? That's talent management in a nutshell, honestly, kind of. You hope to God, you know, the ideal dream scenario is that you find somebody who's like intelligent and talented and can take instruction really well, and you know, the only thing that they're missing is like an understanding of the business and how to do it. But generally speaking, those people are really, 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 really rare, because people that are like genuinely brilliant usually are like not going into entertainment. So yeah, that would be my advice. Hopefully that's helpful. Like, I know it's probably at least directionally useful, but you might be looking for like more specific tactical advice, but that's how I would approach it, is just like, you just have to write their entire, you just have to write them a person. Great question. How do I start if I'm an incel? Do AI OFM. Just work with AI models. I know this is probably a joke question, but I would not recommend interacting with women if you're an incel. And if you don't have to interact with women, I don't know why you would. So, you know, Godspeed. Keep it up, buddy. Chad Incel Alliance. All right, next question is the trans model niche itself for you, or would you dig down even more on niching her? Thoughts on that? No, trans is insufficiently niched. Trans is a sexual identity, right? So like, is gay a niche? Not really, because there's a lot of gay people that are interested in a variety of different things, right? So there are guys that are interested in trans women for sure, but they're not like, nobody is interested in, I'll put it this way, right? You are interested, I'm assuming that you're a heterosexual male. Are you interested in women, generally speaking, or are you interested in a very specific type of woman? You know, the question that you're asking is something like, is vagina niche itself enough for you? And the answer is obviously like, no, vagina is not, like, having a vagina is not a niche. That's all being trans is. It's obviously there's a smaller percentage of people that are trans than people who have vaginas, but nonetheless, it is still too large and undifferentiated a blob of people to really call it a niche. And so if you've got a trans creator, it's just like any other creator. You're targeting an audience that's interested in trans creators, and so there's going to be a specific, you know, language or messaging that you're going to use to communicate with that audience that sort of cues them in on that. There's, subcultural that's around trans identity. But you still want to have, like, that trans creator can't just be trans. That can't be their whole thing. They need to be a trans creator that does XYZ thing. That, trans cooking, trans rollerblading. I don't fucking know. But you need more specificity. Okay. Next question. I'm recreating the Barbara Trucker account with my model, making slight changes, of course. First reel over 1K already, but gets no followers. Did this before 6 posts, limited follows. She blows. Oh, I didn't get the last letter. She blows. I just thought you were saying she blows you. It's like, oh, you figured out a way to give head through Instagram? That's dope. I'm not sure what the question is here. You just have to keep going. You just started posting reels today, so yeah, I just keep posting. You're saying you don't have a bunch of followers after your first reel. You only got 1,000 views. Like, yeah, you just have to keep posting. It's not going to happen overnight. Building a brand like social media, it doesn't happen overnight. Just like you said in your follow-up, it's just too small a sample size. Yeah. Okay. Let's do this. Let's go, haha. Oh, this is the guy who asked the incel question. Incel question guy. Kind of half joke. I have like 50 matches waiting for me on Hinge, but is Hinge a path you recommend starting with, or is that too downstream, especially if just starting off? So I'm going to tell a story that I've never told before. And I just had this conversation with somebody relatively recently. I'm like starting to get a little bit more comfortable talking about it, but people ask me like how I recruited models, and I've always kind of been a little bit vague. Like, I recruit locally. I did a very specific thing, which is I got on Tinder and I looked for people that were like, obviously this is an OnlyFans creator, not like bot accounts, but it's just like, when a girl has an OnlyFans if you've been in this business for more than 5 fucking seconds, right? So, I would match with girls. I would, I had some sort of cheeky line in my bio that was like, you're not going to like what I do for a living or something like that, right? So it was kind of, there was like a mystique or like an intrigue built into that. And then I would basically like schedule a date, and then I would basically turn that into, the date was kind of the in. And then I would be like, hey, I'm not really feeling a ton of romantic chemistry here, but like, you do OnlyFans. I do OnlyFans management. Maybe there's an opportunity for us to partner up here. Like, how much are you making? And so I don't advocate that approach, because like not everybody's going to be able to do it. And that's not like me, not like a humble brag or whatever, of just like people can go out and get matches, but I just think it takes a kind of like real deftness and skill to do that in a way that's not really blatantly like deceptive or insulting, because like, I mean, fundamentally it was deceptive, right? Like, I never really intended to date these girls. It was always about business. And there was never inappropriate, like no like sexual, anything like that. But it just requires a certain kind of like, social skill, tact, whatever, that I just don't think most people have. So to answer your question, is it a path I would recommend? No. Does it work? Yeah, 100%. And I also, it's much easier because you're finding people that are local, and you're able to like sort of assess if they're interesting or potentially have any talent before you ever meet them, like before you ever schedule the meeting or whatever. So it is a path. It's not one that I generally recommend. It's not something that I've talked about in the past for that specific reason. I just feel like it can go, if you don't have great impulse control, or like, it's like somebody else said, recruiting from your personal dating life is playing with fire. 100% that's true. Like, you lack self-control, or you start thinking with your dick or whatever, and like that's just a path you don't want to go down. That's lawsuits, that's accusation, that's everybody, I'm sure everybody kind of knows to some extent like how bad that can go. It can fuck up your whole life. But if you're just using it as a recruiting tool, and you make it really clear, like you schedule the first meet or whatever, do it under a specific pretense, but like There's no, no kissing, no like misleading or whatever. It's just like, hey, we're having a conversation, not really feeling romantic energy. Would you be interested in a business partnership? If you can do that with some tact and pull it off, then yes, I actually do think that it's a great way to recruit. It's what I did. But again, it's a real fine line. So just be super careful if you go down that path. Boom, boom. All right. If you sign a creator and you're going to lean into a specific brand or niche, do you use her Instagram account or start a fresh one so you can target the correct audience? Always start a fresh one so you can target the correct audience. Also, you do not want to have, your creator should not have any access to their accounts. The reason for that is that your accounts are marketing collateral. That's a business asset, right? You aren't giving models access to your bank accounts, presumably, but it's the same thing, right? You wouldn't allow talent to have access to like the distribution channel for anything, really, right? You hire an actor for a commercial. The actor doesn't get to decide like when the commercial airs, or like they don't have any part of the creative process, or, how much money, right? That's not talent's job. And then on top of that, if you have talent that travels frequently, that can fuck with your IP. If you're posting from multiple IPs, it can damage your trust score. There's all sorts of reasons not to do that. So if you've got a creator and she has a personal Instagram account, you can use, if they're comfortable with it, what I would recommend doing is create a totally new account, so that you have complete control over that account's audience and you can build that niche up from scratch. And then just use the model's personal account, have a story that she posts every day that's like, hey, if you're interested in watching me do this thing, come check out my other account. All right, hold on. Cole McDaniel says, I love this fucking song. Okay, also what you just said in your last YouTube video, one could create some sort of brand with a chick they know personally, could be a creator duo brand. Not 100%. Do you mind clarifying this? Because this sounds like it could be an interesting idea, but I don't quite get what you're saying. Are you suggesting that the agent co-brand with the creator? That would be interesting. I think that's sort of what Owen Lynch did. Yeah, if you could just clarify in the chat what you're talking about, that would be helpful. And I'll come back to that question once I know for sure what you mean. How would you pick niches if you started doing AI? You have unlimited options. How would you choose the route? I'm going to give you the exact same answer that I gave to Dr. Sergeant Nash about his how to like write an identity for a creator who has no personality or whatever. With AI, you should treat it like you are the creator. So whatever you personally are passionate, the thing that I use in the course is the APE index. So that's authenticity, passion, and expertise. Whatever you can speak about authentically with authority on, whatever you are passionate about, whatever you have expertise in, that should be your niche, especially with AI, because you have unlimited options. You want to talk about something that you can speak about with authority, that you know the audience for, that you're going to be able to communicate in your sort of language, right? So like the way that I would think about it, the way I think about content is, what do I wish existed when I started doing OnlyFans management? And then I just make that. And I talk to OnlyFans managers every single day. It's my job. And so I understand like the messaging that they respond to very well. I understand the words that they use. I understand the way that they think. And as a consequence of that, I'm able to like really be carefully craft, thoughtfully curate my messaging. You should be doing the exact same thing with AI creators. Kai asks, when your contract expires with a model, should the agency hand over the accounts you have built up while working with her? No, those are your property. And that should be explicitly outlined in your contract as well. That's all marketing collateral. Those are assets that you built up, and there are potentially increasingly less these days, unfortunately. But there are potentially use cases for those accounts. You could turn them into meme pages. You could maybe, if you're handling a bunch of creators that are in roughly the same niche, you could just convert those pages to the other creator, right? And then they're really valuable marketing assets. I know for a fact that that's what Hive Media does with their horizontally scaling models. So like, let's say that the model's name is Amanda. They'll build up, 20 accounts for a man. I'm not saying do 20 accounts, by the way. I'm just explaining what their methodology. They're a horizontally scaling agency, so don't do this exactly. But in principle, let's say they have 10 accounts for Amanda. If Amanda leaves the agency, they hire another model and her name just becomes Amanda, and then they replace her and they keep all the pages, and it's just a seamless transition, right? So that's a little bit easier with horizontally scaling models because the models are like basically, completely fungible and interchangeable. But those are marketing assets. Now, and that needs to be explicitly stipulated in your contract with the model that like those assets belong to you. Now, I'm not saying like if you're parting on really good terms and like you think that the model will be able to make good use of those assets and you don't have a use for them, or you just feel like being nice or whatever, you can totally give them away. But in terms of like legal claim, those assets need to belong to you exclusively. They are yours to do with what you choose. So, okay, Cole McDaniel's question I'll get back to. It's funny, like, I feel like I should just sit here with a dead stream for like half an hour because a bunch of people always join towards the end. But I'll stay on for like another 15 minutes, and then I need to give my voice a rest before I have a few more consulting calls at the end of the day. So what Cole was saying is like a creator couple. And yes, so that is basically exactly what Camilla and Owen Lynch did. There's a few other precedents for this. Branding as a couple is cool as long as they stay together, right? So if you're talking about maybe somebody that you're with, like a model that you're managing that you're also dating or something like that, yeah, there's definitely like there's plenty of people that do that. And you want to focus on like the couple's content. So like what tends to work really well is going to be anything that like treats you as a couple. What I will say is that there's a different kind of audience that's into that. My personal intuition / experience is that like couples tend to do really, really well on cam sites. Because people like watching other people have sex or like interact or be intimate and romantic with each other. But OnlyFans is more about like kind of scratching the loneliness itch. And so most people who are like whales on OnlyFans, they want to spend on the girl because they want to feel like they have a relationship with them. And if it's like a married couple, that experience it's definitely its own thing. I'm not saying that there's not an audience for it because there absolutely is. I'm not discouraging you from trying it out. It's just from personal experience and observation. I noticed that couples tend to gravitate towards camming. And there could be a bunch of other reasons for that. Like, I don't really have any data to support the conclusion that like camming is better than OnlyFans for couples. I don't know. I have no access to like what people are making. I just happen to notice that is largely the case. So just something to consider. But yeah, you can absolutely co-brand. You can brand as a couple. That's like a real thing that people do all the time, and have a ton of success with. So if you have the opportunity to do that, I would definitely explore it. Let me see. Okay. Ellis Jacob 00. I'm going to answer this. I always think it's funny answering these questions because I feel like people are going to think that I like plant these people or whatever, because it's like, oh, a perfect opportunity for me to shill my course. How nice of you to ask. But I'll try to answer this anyway. That's not the case here. Interested to get into this business. What are your opinion on different people's courses and learning? Does it matter what people I learn it from? Would a mentor help me in this? It absolutely fucking matters what people you learn it from. 100%. So my specialty is organic marketing. And like my entire consulting practice, I have a course as well. All of that stuff is oriented around organic marketing. If you want a guy to help you learn how to do chatting, I'm not the right guy. Buying my course would be a bad investment if you're trying to get better at chatting, because there's absolutely nothing in my course about chatting. It's 100% about organic marketing and organic social for OnlyFans management. So in general, if you're trying to learn something new, don't try to learn from somebody who's telling you how to do everything at once. Because 9 times out of 10, I don't like naming names, but I'm not saying that I haven't done his course, so I don't know if it's terrible or whatever. I'm not saying anything about the quality of his educational products, but a guy like Marcus Hustle, his entire thing is targeting entry-level people in the industry and giving away and, you know, selling information from my understanding that is like generally available for free. If a guy is trying to sell to total new market entrants, I just think in general that it's probably more likely to be a scam. So be careful who you choose to learn from. And the really shitty thing about this, just like taking advice in general, is that if you're a beginner, you don't know who's full of shit because you don't have any like heuristics for figuring that out. So this is a really tough question to answer. If you're interested in learning more about OFM organic marketing, my course is great. I think it's the absolute best info product in the business. I think there's probably a few people in here who are in the course who would vouch for me on that, I hope. But if you're just getting started, I don't think my course is the right thing for you. So yeah, I would say if you want to learn how to get really good at cracked at marketing, just keep watching my YouTube content. And if you want to learn like general beginner stuff, like just understanding how to get started in the industry, I'm honestly not 100% sure who the best people are. Maybe somebody in the chat could tell you better than I can, but I am not, you know, I haven't been an entry level, I haven't been a new market entrant in 4 years. So I don't really even know who like the beginner content creators are or what they're doing or if their content is even good. All right, I'm going to answer, oh gosh, yeah, it's all, I'm going to answer like 5 more questions, I think. And I think I have 5 more questions in the queue. So let me see what I can do here. All right, so back in the days, how much were you posting on the Fresh account before starting to make some money? Most people have crazy expectations to earn millions from the second posted reel. Yes, 100%. Back in the old days, back in my day, you could start a new Instagram page. I mean, like, unironically, there were, I had models where I would start a new Instagram page and I'd have 100,000 followers in 60 days or less. From zero, no paid ads, like just completely organic. I think those days are more or less over, unfortunately. So this question's a little bit tougher to answer. I would try to post 2 to 3 original pieces of content per account, per model, right? So if I had a model with 3 Instagram accounts, I'm putting out probably between 6 and 9 original pieces of content a day across those accounts. And I would expect to make money really quickly. These days, I think it's a little bit different. I think that your time to bear fruit is a little bit longer. And that's just a consequence of like, there's more competition now. So the good old days are not here anymore. But yeah, I mean, back in the day, like I said, I could have 100K followers in I think on average about 40 days. And then, you know, with that, you're making like probably 30K plus a month. If you have even like remotely halfway decent chatting and you're niching correctly, but things are a little bit different now. So, results may vary. It's a tough question to answer because it just is so variable depending on the model, depending on the niche, depending on a million different things. So, here we go. Blue Sunset Soup. I have a huge question. How does contracting actually work? Do I have to draft a contract with a lawyer to work with different models? Complete beginner, by the way. So Blue Sunset Soup, if you're still watching, I hope that you are. There's a video on my channel that you need to watch right now. Let me try to find it and I'll link it in the chat, that answers this specifically. And then on the resource page of my website, I actually give away a model contract for free that you can just download and use. It's just a template. You obviously need to like fill in the information, and the video that I'm about to send is how precisely to use that contract. So give me 1 second to find it. Here we go. It's actually funny. It's, I think, the least watched video on my channel, and it's probably the most important. Go check that out. So yeah, this will answer that question completely. And it'll give you a free model contract. So enjoy that. Yeah, this is because otherwise this is that video is like 43 minutes long. There's no way I can answer this question, in a simple way, but contracts are very, very important. You want to have a legally binding contract with a model. You don't want to operate on handshake agreements because, like, generally speaking, the people in this business, not to speak disparagingly of talent, this is a generalization and blah, 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 blah.
the girls in this industry are really volatile, and you want to have legal assurances and, you know, make sure that they can't screw you over or like steal your money or whatever. So don't put yourself in a bad position. Contracts are great. They protect both parties. That's what they're designed to do. Use a contract, use the one that I just gave you for free, and enjoy. You had another question, which I will get to in a little bit. Here we go. This is not a question, but it's really nice, so I'm going to do it here. I wanted to express thank you for all of the advice. I've been watching for months and learned a lot. You and Oliver are the best OFM YouTubers. Very much appreciate that, man. Thank you. Yeah, I definitely try to put out the highest quality information possible and the highest quality services and products that I possibly can. So, yeah, appreciate that. How do you create a persona for a model that has no hobbies or interests besides the basic I like shopping for her marketing brand so it feels authentic? I answered this question, Zed538. I've answered this question twice on this stream already, so I'm sorry I'm not going to answer it a third time. I know that you probably weren't in here when I answered it, but after the end of this live stream, if you go back, this will pop up on the live tab of my channel. If you just like go maybe halfway into the stream, you can see the questions that are being asked on the channel. Look for the word remediation, and you will find my exact answer to that question in detail. So hopefully that's helpful. Sorry, I just don't want to answer that question a third time. Do you have to be with the model face-to-face at any point in time in the business, or can you run the business fully without physical interaction? You can do it either way. I personally preferred to work with models locally, but that's because like creative is such a big thing for me, and I wanted to produce really high-quality creative, and that required me to like get in the weeds and actually shoot content with the models. That's not going to be the case for everybody. I think most people in this business probably never interact personally with their models. So, you know, it's a personal choice. It's going to be based on the models that you have access to. If you want to recruit locally, there's benefits and, you know, there's pros and cons to either way, right? Pros of working with models in person, you have you have control over the shooting conditions. You can actually go and shoot content with the model and make sure that they're producing the right amount of content, because you're like physically there to enforce that or encourage them or actually shoot content with them and help them out. Cons are you have to do that, which is like, you know, one of the reasons that I quit management is just because I don't like interacting with models on a day-to-day basis. I hate women. Haha, just kidding. Not really. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, there's pros and cons to either approach. The pro to doing it all remotely is that you can hire like account managers and have them manage the relationships. And then the con there is that you're not really developing deep rapport with the model. So they're less likely to stick around. So there's like retention advantages to in-person. There's, less time actually spent managing models remotely, but like you also probably run into more issues with keeping them motivated and getting the right amount of content because they don't have to interface with you personally. So your mileage may vary. Let's see. Zed538, the lives will always stay up. So I don't ever delete lives after the live streams are concluded. You just go to the live tab on my YouTube channel and you can watch them whenever you want. I want to do OFM once I make and save money off of this again. OFM is a different ballgame. Both OF and the app we use have its pros and cons. I'm assuming that you use like FanView or something like that. I just want to say you don't need money to do OFM. Like one of the cool things about this business, I had a conversation like this earlier today. One of the cool things about this business is that like the capital requirements or like costs to enter the business are basically zero. So, yeah, you don't need to wait until you have money or whatever. You can start learning about it and even executing on it right now. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. I need to give my voice a break before my last run of calls for the day. I need to eat dinner. So thank you everybody who came through. Like I said, this was just kind of a quick impromptu thing. Didn't really plan on doing a live today. Just kind of felt like doing it. So I'll go ahead and leave on this note. If you are interested in getting really, really, really fucking good at organic social and having the entire complete system for organic social that I have built from scratch from 4 years of trial and error, I'll just show you the course really quick. Go to facelessfrancis.com and check out the course. If you have any questions about it, you can book a call with me, a short discovery call with me, and I will answer any questions that you might have. The course is extremely comprehensive. It covers absolutely everything that you need to know about crushing on organic social, from what organic social actually is, customer psychology and brand development, technical foundations, so how to create and warm up accounts, how to monitor performance, how to direct models, leading and building creative teams, everything you need about content creation, hooks, ideation, script writing, composition, and everything that you need to know about video editing and bringing all these principles together. Plus, there's 30 companion resources that will help you immediately incorporate all of the learnings into your business. Stuff like AI prompts, custom software that is salient to OFM. There's an AI knowledge base that you can basically plug into your LLM of choice and use as a chatbot. And there's a really active, vibrant Discord community with multiple top 10 OFM agencies, tons of really helpful people who are all interested in watching other people win and getting really cracked at organic social. So if you enjoyed the stream, if you enjoy my content, do me a favor, apply for the course. Go to facelessfrancis.com, apply for the course, book a call with me. Let's talk. And if not, if you're not interested in education or you think courses are scammy or whatever, continue to enjoy the free content on YouTube and make sure to join the free Telegram community and contribute there. But that is all I have got. And hopefully I'll see you guys around. Y'all